Another live show, a really exciting one and jam-packed full of information for people that want to know where to put their veggie garden in the summer and the winter times. And maybe if you've already placed your garden in a certain position, that you may need to move it somewhere else or make some slight adjustments so you don't get problems and you can get the best advantage from your veggie garden. Now, we're going to be covering all the spaces as much as possible. We're going to be talking to people as they turn up in the chat and have a chat with them about their veggie gardens. We can do a Q&A about garden placement towards the end. Now, when people arrive, I pull up their questions, drop them in the comments box, and we always get some amazing questions that people ask. And I'm like, wow, that's really good for me. I've learned a little bit from that. And also the viewers get to see some bomb questions in here and they think, hey, I didn't think of that. I was doing that, or maybe I should change that and do that too, because there's always something really valuable that turns up in these live shows through the community. We have an amazing wealth of talent appear in here from time to time, and also a range of people from beginners right through to intermediate to the advanced. No question is regarded as silly or stupid. We're all at different levels, and let's get this garden started. Well, this garden started. Let's get this video started. And I've got a list here, and I'm just going to read out what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to be talking about placement for light, placement for the wind, placement for corner systems, fence gardens, like higher and lower zones, winter and summer positioning, and how you can take advantage of all the seasons to get the best possible growth and the most abundant gardens that you can possibly grow at your place. This could be anything from a small container garden to large veggie beds. Now, a bit under a year ago, Mark from Self-Sufficient Me was here, and we filmed here, and we put a series of raised garden beds here, and he covered this topic that we're actually talking about today. And my garden beds have been in for just under so it was winter time when he was here, so around about 9 months now, and they're doing really great. And I've added a couple more garden beds to another position since he's been here with underground worm farm systems in them, which is out the front. So we used the back garden where we built the gardens with Mark, and then I built some more out the front. And so you're always welcome to go over to Mark's channel, check that out. I think is Where Do I Put My Raised Beds in the Garden is the name of it, something like that, the title along there, and you'll see it's all in there. So anyway, let's get into it and talk about the first subject of light. Now, light is very important, and we're going to be covering this sort of in the summer and winter stuff, because without the right light, we can't get good plant growth. And depending on what we're going to grow in the right season. So if we're looking at, say, summer crops such as tomatoes, chilies, things like along those lines that need a lot of sunlight, well, we have to have a garden position that receives at least around 6 hours light in the summer to get the optimum results. Now, you can grow in less, but generally overall, you'll get less flowering and less fruit production. I've grown tomatoes in 4 hours of light and had some success, but I find that 6 hour minimum, 6 hour and on, it just does better and better. So don't fret if you can only get 4 hours of very good light. You still can grow some pretty amazing stuff. And if you've got lower light situations, you can grow other crops and take advantage of that, where some people may not, because it's just too hot in the garden and they can't grow those things, and they're a bit envious of you, saying, I wish I could grow those leafy greens at my place. And also it depends on the season, where you are in your zones, and many factors. But light carries heat, and so we're going to be talking about trapping light in these systems. And one way that we do that by trapping light is, so the next section here is wind. And when we slow up wind breezes, we actually trap more warmth. And so let's look at the winter garden first. What we need to do is we need to trap the sunlight in as much as possible and allow least cool amount of breeze coming through, which is opposite to, say, a summer garden where we want some breeze coming through and we want some wind coming through to cool things down. But in winter, it's less humidity generally, not always, but generally. And we want to trap that warmth in there. And so that could be something like a corner block. I don't know how to get this in front of the, so a corner block like that, where the cool breeze is behind here, sunlight's coming in this way, we're trapping it in the heat zone, and stopping the cool breezes from coming through. And we could have a concrete wall at the back, which will suck in the heat, the radiant heat through the daytime, even a concrete floor if we've got a potted garden. And that will allow the heat then dissipate back through the winter times to keep the plants warm through the night. And by about 1 o'clock, it's in the evening, it sort of cooled down a bit. And then the sun comes in the morning and creates this whole cycle yet again. So that's how we use our wind in the wintertime. Now, in summertime, we can have small windbreaks, such as maybe a small tree planting and things like that, where the wind can sort of get through a little bit, so it dissipates, it slows right down, but it also just gets through. And that will also trap heat as well. So it'll work similar to the wall system, but it just won't reflect back heat over the night, or how we say, just as it's cooling down process. But it will allow wind to slow down as it's passing through the tree leaves. If we've got a few levels of trees going like a V system, so your tallest tree in the center and your smallest one going down to the bottom like that, and dissipates through. And we've got our garden, say, in a system like this. I don't have pictures, sorry, so it's just a hand, so you can see the garden would be like a scooped system, and that blocking out the heat with a full sun coming down. So what we're looking at in the light is for the summer garden is the full sun position. And in the winter garden, we want to have a position where it's facing, in Australia, we'll be facing in the east coast here, we're facing more to the north as much as possible to trap that low sun. And in the summertime, we've got sun coming straight over the top in areas where the sun wouldn't even get in winter. But we want to have a spot where it gets sun right through the whole year, if possible. So hopefully that sort of gives you some feedback or some answers on where to place the garden. And I haven't been too confusing with that, because it can get a little bit confusing. All right, so we've talked about light, we've spoken about wind, we've talked about the corner systems, so trapping light into corners, and that's more for the winter stuff. I'll give you an example. Like when I first started Marty's Garden, we had an apartment and we were on a little tiny veranda, and we were up about 2 stories high, and the winter sun went straight in there. So I was able to grow tomatoes in containers, have the worm farm in the corner in the shade, and grow all the different herbs and things all on the veranda there. And we had pretty good success doing that. And then in summertime, the sun didn't get into the apartment because it was too high above, and it sort of went down the edges like that, and I had to push the plants real close to the side. So I did much better there in the wintertime because the sun was lower and it was getting trapped like a heat sink, like I was talking about. So it did really, really well for that. And then, okay, so let's look at the next thing. So fence gardens, and this is really important because we've got all different types of fences, and everyone likes to grow their gardens along fence lines, right? So if you're growing your garden along a fence line, just be very careful. If you've got a metal fence, they really heat up. Like, man, they get hot in summer. And if your garden plants are too close to it, the heat will reflect back and will burn your plants, and the plants won't be able to take up enough warmth. Now, in the wintertime, that may be the opposite effect of what you want, and you may need to have your beds closer so you can attract that warmth and use that warmth. And if you've got a white fence, you're going to reflect the light back in the wintertime and allow more light for more photosynthesis and warmth. All right, so timber fences, you can grow over the top of them. Like we've got some chocos, passion fruits growing on our timber fence at the moment, just starting to vine up. They don't get too hot. So yeah, they're a good fence. They do allow a bit of airflow sort of through the gaps and things like that. So just be aware, metal fences, they can be great in winter, but they can be very detrimental if your garden's too close to them in the summer period. So bring your more space between. You need to fit a few mowers, like 3 widths at least, but you need to go and feel that heat and stand next to it and go, okay, how far is it coming back from the fence? All right, so the next thing we need to talk about, we're going to be talking about zones and the winter and summer, taking advantage of the winter and summer. But before we do that, let's pull up some of the chats in here. Say hello to everyone. If you want to support the channel here, you can do so, and also this live feed, or this live show that I'm running through. I've also been putting some podcasts over here at the Buy Me a Coffee page. When you go over there, you can access them. They run for about 4 or 5 minutes, and they're full of tips and tricks and things like that to help you grow a better garden, a better organic garden. And we do cover some worm farming stuff in there as well. So there's a little QR code. I'll pop it up again in a little while. You can put that onto your phone, and you can go over there. And it's around about a coffee a month to support the channel and to keep sustainable. So thank you very much if you've done that already, or you're considering doing so. So yeah, awesome. Just really appreciate that. All right, let's keep moving forward and pull up these chats here. What do we got here? I'm just going to answer. So if people that are new to the show, if you're got a question, please put a Q in front of it. Really important, so I can see if people are chatting amongst each other, or if it's a question. And please keep the questions at the moment related to this topic, and then towards the end of the show, we can sort of go off topic a little bit and answer other questions that you may have for me if you haven't asked them in previous shows. And so, but I will, because I haven't told you about the little rules. I'm going to pull up what we've got here, and then let people know through the thing. Someone says I appear to have no sound. I'm pretty sure we got sound coming through. Otherwise, there wouldn't be people watching. So yeah, you must be. Says it's coming through on my end, quite fine. So maybe check on your thing, James. And you probably can't even hear me saying that anyway. Okay, hi Marty. How would you interest worms into tree pots? Not really sure what the question is. Keep it a little bit later down the line for we could try and stay on topic and maybe reinvent the question a bit so I can understand it a bit more. Okay, brother, how you been? You're doing really well. Great to see you there, Glennie's Garden. G'day, mate. We got someone from India as well. From Goa, India, Dennis Diogo Luis de Sousa. Hey, man. Welcome to the show. And maybe fix it if you haven't got his sound. And it says here, have you tried planning in relation to the lunar cycle? Yes, I have. I'll just write that down so I can answer that down the line. If we go towards the end, because I think that's a great question, but it's a little bit off topic. So we'll try to stay on topic here for the moment. Electric. So we've got a few different questions here, sort of unrelated to the topic. So what we'll do is we'll just go through a little bit more into this to cover it, and then we'll go straight back into these questions. There's not a lot of people here today, so I should be able to get back and find those questions again and answer them for you guys. All right, so let's keep moving forward. Just make sure I've covered everything. So we're talking about the winter gardens, heat traps. So I think one thing you got to remember is, we want to keep our vegetable gardens in spots where they're away from cool breezes. We want to really be able to sort of filter out wind. I'm lucky I've got houses either side of where I am, fences either side, and I've built a sort of a windbreak permaculture area up the north area, which is sort of my warmer wind really. And then on the south side where the cooler breeze is a few houses and a big high fence. So I've got a bit of a trapment, and that allows the heat to stay in there in the winter. And in summertime, right in the corner of my house and my bathroom, I've got white walls, so 2 corners, and reflecting a lot of light back onto one of my winter garden beds. So that I find that winter garden bed does really good, and we might even be able to grow some tomatoes there this season if I put up a little bit of a greenhouse system onto there. So yeah, that's pretty much covered on how you can, where do you put your garden bed. Hopefully I've covered a few good tips and points and tricks there for you. If you're watching the rerun, please feel free to ask me a question related to that. Be happy to go back and answer that question and just help anyone along the lines of yeah, where to put their garden beds. And remember, you can also, if you want to support this live feed, we're running sort of like a series of videos and live shows and things over this month of February, and just seeing how things go with it. And it's probably my weakest point. And like people say, do the more of what you do really well at. But this is something I just want to try, and I really enjoy helping and answering questions and things. And hopefully, we can get in the future some other people invited onto the show as well. It's not as easy as you think getting guests on here, but it's something that we could look into down the line if all works out. Well, we had one out with Robin from Nature's Grow. That was just, I think it was out yesterday morning or something. You can go back and watch that if you like those interview style videos. We covered the sort of like Warrigal greens and Australian native foods, and discussed a bit about permaculture. And so interesting interview if you want to watch those type of things. And so, yeah, if you want to support the stream, we're just, we're chasing a few members a week. If we can sort of get above the numbers through this month, then we'll keep Marty's Garden running and keep moving forward. And just stoked that you're all here. And thank you for get your questions ready. Here we go. I've just got a little caption here. This is fun. I like pulling this out. It says, "Yep, get your questions ready." It's my little text box that I've been making up. And yeah, I've been putting sort of things in here to go Q&A coming up, stuff like that. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun messing around with this software and learning how to make it better and more engaging for you guys, and also for people watching the reruns down the line. So let's get back to the chat here, and we can have a bit of a chat on any questions that we have. And I will go up to here. Now, I am actually live on YouTube and Facebook at the same time. So let's get this up here, and we will start rolling out these questions. And hi, Marty and Worm Family. G'day, Rick. And then we've got the tree pots. I'm still not sure about that one. And Rick said here he'd like that interview with Robin, the Nature's Place. Yeah, thanks, mate. Be nice to actually interview her again. That was an old one, blast from the past video. Maybe she will come back on again. And yeah, been really good. Been very busy with lots of different things going on. So yeah, but we're here at the moment. I've got my daughter home sick today from school, and Shirley's got a day off. We just went out for a little while and come back, and yeah, want to talk to you guys and talk about where do you place your garden beds, and give you some tips and tricks. And so here we go to go here, and says, have you tried planting in relation to the lunar cycle? I have, and I find that I've had a lunar calendar in the past and done it that way. Now, I find that it works really well if you're smart with it. Now, there's, I think the moon coming on is growth. So the plants are growing up, and moon going away. So waxing, I think, or waning or whatever. So the roots are going down. So you plant different crops to do with the seasons. But basically, I found that when I was doing microgreens, if I was planting for the growth cycle, and the weather was good, and all those other things that need to come into place to have good growth, yeah, I found that it definitely helped with seedlings. There's no doubt about that. And planting certain times of year when the roots are going down, definitely. Like, if you look at the season of autumn, when you're planting trees and perennials and things, the ground is warm, and so and usually, generally, it's got a bit of moisture locked in because you've had a bit of rain over time. You've built up some soil profile and things like that. You've been doing a lot of work in the garden, so everything's real alive. A lot of good microbial activity, and so the ground is always warmer for longer than say outside. So it just takes longer to cool down. And so in autumn's a really good time to plant, because just at the end of autumn, the sap starts going back down into the ground. The trees will obviously look like they're not doing as much, but there's a lot more going on below the ground later on as things are cooling down, because big trees will send their sap down into the ground in the winter. That's why they drop all the leaves and everything like that. And then in spring, when it's growing back up again, they're bringing the sap back up, and all the sap comes out, and you get all that new growth of flush. So yeah, there's lots of things to the seasons and the cycles and the moon and all those type of things. And yeah, if you're into that type of thing, from my experience, it's worked. And we've got here, have you tried espalier trees on the fence? I've done some espaliering, just a little bit. Um, I think it's a really good thing to do in small space gardens or on the edge of like chicken runs. Um, I think that, like on the edge of chicken runs, so the chickens can stick their head through and grab an insect and things like that. And the roots will be going underneath the chicken run, so it's getting some manure and things, and you can grow along. You just got to make sure that the chickens aren't sort of picking off some of the leaves. You might have to have a double fence or something. But yeah, I like the concept for smaller space gardens and doing that with dwarf plants. Yeah. It says here that Facebook, when someone said having a problem with Facebook, James Lindner. If you're still there, mate, sorry about that. Don't know what's going on that side of things. All I do is just run it out through the software here into Facebook and YouTube at the same time. And Rick Nielsen, I've enclosed my raised beds with bubble wrap to lessen the impact of the westerly winds on my plants. So if you're down southwest Sydney way, I think, I can't remember, sorry, but yeah, you get really strong westerly winds there. So lessen the impact. That's interesting. So they'd actually be playing a bit of havoc on your plants as well if it's getting that sort of windy. Might be a good idea to plant some small, I don't know, your garden, but windbreaks sometimes can really, well, not sometimes, can really help, especially if you can do something like what I'm doing, where you're planting a permaculture zone up the side of your fence, where you're growing a little mini food forest, and the birds and the insects and the lizards and things can come out and can feed in the garden safely. And you're also creating, if you do that on the cool side, breeze side, then, and use it as a way to trap summer winter sun as well, that can work really well in your favor. But like I said, I can't see a garden, I don't know. So yeah, a bit hard to know on that one. If you've got any more questions, please feel free to fire away. We've been talking about, at the beginning, I just spoke about, it's a bit like listen to a public speaking talk as well, I guess, on placing your garden in the right place to do with winter and summer zones and heat, and being careful about hot fences and how far away to plant your things. And make sure you understand also that the wind, the summer sun is higher and the winter sun is lower, so we need to keep that in perspective. And sometimes I think if you're not sure about your garden and just new in there, you need to really just take it slowly at first, because in about a year's time, you'll know exactly, after you've been through one spring, winter, and summer, where the sun is, and you just need to watch and observe. And I know that I had to do that here. We've got a big mango tree next door, and there's a certain time of the year where the mango tree, at a certain stage, it just doesn't get above the next door neighbour's tree. It stays just below, and it blocks a lot of light from coming into parts of my garden in the winter time. Okay, need a drink of water there. With that, if you've got any more questions, please feel free to fire away. Any gardening question, we've covered the topic quite well, I believe. Hopefully, I've been able to help some people who are listening in or just watching the rerun later on. I'll put the QR code up here again. Now, if people want to support the channel, they can this way by going over and becoming a member, or leaving just a small donation. And this helps the channel stay alive. A lot of people think that YouTubers are quite rich and things like that, but really we're not. And we really do appreciate any support that we can get from time to time. And that's one way we can actually look at things, instead of the fluctuation in YouTube is so variable all the time, depending on what's going on with the ad royalties and stuff. We know I can look at the chat at the members area and go, oh, that's what's there, and there's some more stability in it. So we're running these out for the next month, see how it goes. I've got some videos planned as well coming up in the near future, along with these live shows that I've got. Saturday morning I'm always there, 8:30 every Saturday morning for the live show. That's the permanent one that we're looking at. And then sporadically through the week, lots of little live shows, and giving half an hour to an hour's notice on what's coming up on what topic. And I'm just trying to cover questions that people are answering online to do with gardening and organic gardening, and to help them grow better gardens. And we've got a question here. If you're coming in later and you've got a question for me, put a Q in front of the question so I can see it. And please say hello to people in here and make some friends and things like that. And says, Rick Nielsen, can you recommend plants or greens for shady zones? Some herbs will grow really well in shady zones as well. Look, even basil and things like that will grow. All the leafy greens will grow really well in the shade in the summer period. So anything, like bok choy, all the chard family, all those things along the line that you sort of like want to grow for leafy salads, lettuces, rockets, all those things. And then in the wintertime, you can put them into a more full sun position. But sort of like in those hotter times, yeah, no problem. And some shade is totally fine. So yeah, pretty much all the leafy greens that you can grow in your zone in the summertime in the shade, no problem. I'm growing some things, creating shade now and new systems so I can have better shaded gardens. I'm a little bit late doing it, but at least it'll be ready for next year, and I'll be able to use the vertical systems for growing peas and beans and stuff like that right through the year. So I'm glad I built that. If you didn't see that video, I think it's called Trestles something survival garden. So it's all about how I built these systems with just using tomato stakes. They're really cheap to make. You can pull them up, pull them down quick, quite strong. And we've got at the moment a whole lot of snake beans growing on them. So we're harvesting snake beans every day at the moment. So yeah, hopefully that helps. So you can grow lots of different types of herbs. Parsley really loves the shade. You can grow all the basils. They just don't get as big, and you can still grow quite a lot. And all those leafy greens. And if you can get on the side, if you've got some sunny areas that you're trying to get to, maybe grow in some pots and move them around through the day or whatever. Someplace I've got some tomatoes at the moment. I put them in the morning sun, then I move them to the afternoon sun, and they're in pots as we speak. Just young seedlings, and they were in the grow table video last week. I think they're called Special Prize, something like that. Great little determinant tomato. All right, so if you've got any more questions, please feel free to fire away. We've got this live stream running, and I've been putting some podcasts. We've done our second podcast over here at the Buy Me a Coffee page. So Marty's Garden, buymeacoffee.com/Marty's Garden. And yeah, they don't go out anywhere else. They're not streamed anywhere else. They're just put there on the Buy Me a Coffee page. And so you can go over there and listen, and they're about 4 or 5 minutes per audio. And you can pick up some more tips and tricks for gardening over there. And I'm going to build out a gallery and some different things and some photos and stuff over there over time. So that's one way you can support the channel to keep moving forward and to stay alive. Now, have we got any more questions before we leave? We've been going for nearly half an hour, and here we go. We've got a question now. Do worms have favorite plants in your experience? My experience with worms, and we're going to use compost worms, is old plant roots. They love old plant roots, especially microgreens that have been growing in compost. When you finish your microgreens, you've harvested them all, you've cut them all back, and then you throw that old compost with the old roots in there. There must be a lot of good bacteria and microbes in there, because that's what they're hunting down for, is the microbes and bacteria that will start breaking down those roots straight away. And I think there's a lot of like sun energy in those roots, those new fresh roots. So they really love those. So when you're cutting back, say, an old tomato plant, you don't pull the tomato plant out. You cut it at the base, leave the roots in there, let the worms, the fungi devour it, stuff like that. And yeah, that's really what they're after. So as far as a favorite plant goes, I don't think they really have one. I think they like all plants. I think they stay away from plants that got extract a lot of the like oils out of their root systems, like a camphor maybe. Yeah, something like that. So yeah, microgreens, the old spent stuff, and old Yeah, anything that are those old roots, they just love it. They just absolutely love it. All right. Nice. I reckon nice too. Okay, so we've been running for about half an hour now. We've got 8 people watching. You haven't given us a thumbs up, please do. We try and keep above the numbers of people watching to thumbs up. So hopefully we're above eight thumbs up. Uh, I'm trying to run some morning live shows and some afternoon live shows because I know some people can't make it in the mornings and some people can make it in the afternoon. So I'm doing my best to do that. Generally by the evening, I find that I'm pretty zoned out by then. I'm pretty tired. I wanted to run a 6:30 one last night and I had to cancel it because I was just way too tired. But if you're coming in late, we've got a little bit more time. You got any gardening questions for me? If you want to find out the tips and tricks, just go back and watch the beginning of this video again. The first 10 minutes, you'll get all the information that you need about planting out a new garden. So in the winter, summer months, trapping heat and taking advantage of garden placement to get abundant results. And we got Ray Roses. How are you going? What is the best thing to improve green bean growth? My beans haven't fared well this summer and are struggling. Generally, beans don't need a lot of nitrogen because they trap nitrogen from the air and put it down in their nodules. I know they don't like a lot of some beans don't like a lot of humidity. They get sort of a fungal growth on them from time to time. But it's really hard to say without sort of looking at the garden. I like to just improve soil structure for bean growth and really get the roots really down into that soil profile. So when I do harvest them, there's all those old dead roots. So I just harvest the plants and then put the plants into the compost systems and leave those roots in the ground so the bacteria and the fungi and everything can eat it. But I'd say more than likely it could be just the soil prep or it could be a lockup or things like that. But don't give up on them. Sometimes we just need to cut things back. And if it's not doing well, we might have done well last season and this season's just not doing so good. We've lost a lot of plants here this year because it's just been a really gnarly season. It's only just started to sort of come good now. Been really like hot, extreme hot, then some cold, and then really wet, super humid. And when you do that, you get a lot of pests and disease problems. So yeah. Anyway, I grew some apple cucumber for the first time this year. Oh, wonderful. Nice plant. Congratulations. And it must have been really nice to be able to harvest something like that. I'm a big fan of cucumbers. We're about to do some more. I didn't put any more in recently after the last lot because it was so humid and they get that powdery mildew on it when it's really humid and they just really suffer and they don't do well. So I'm waiting for it to sort of the air to dry out a bit, cool off a bit, and then we're going to run some cucumbers up those trellises that I've been building because we've got 3 trellises now and we're going to build some more of them just yet because they look awesome and they do lots of things in the garden and I'm able to use all that vertical space. So pretty excited about that. And who knows, maybe I'll grow some apple cucumbers too and run them up there. So yeah, if you've got any gardening questions before we leave, please fire away. Happy to answer them for you and help you as best as I can. If you'd like to support the stream, you can so over at Buy Me a Coffee. It's around about $5 a month to become a member, and it really helps this channel stay alive and stay sustainable. And we're trying to get that happening over the next month. We've got some podcasts over there as well in the audio section, and I'm going to be building a gallery in the next week or two and using that as a space of sort of like my website type of thing. And it's going really well so far. So thank you anyone that's helped me along the lines with that. All you do is just hold your phone on there. Everyone knows QR codes, and you can pause it now or whatever and do that and then come back later. And I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys for the help. All right. So we've got another question here. My little thing, it shows a little blue chat box. It lights up blue when it's when someone's asked a question. And Roses is here. Thanks. I'll prep some new garden beds and plant again. Hope that solves it. Weather has been all over the place here in Adelaide also. I really believe it's just been a gnarly season and the plants sort of just can't figure out what's going on, like it's hot and cold and then really wet and then dry. And it's been like 4 seasons in one day here. or in 1 week here at one stage. But mostly the heat and the humidity has been the killer for us. And we're all preparing for drier gardens and having a lot of rain. So I've gone out and I've set up a water thing to collect see how much mini mil I'm getting now. I really want to know how much rainfall I'm getting each time. So I've gone and a friend of mine gave me one the other day. So, yep, we're going to be measuring the rainfall here. Usually before it's like, oh, yeah, we filled up the wheelbarrow along those lines. All right, so we will 2 more minutes, guys. If you've got any questions, please feel free. No question is regarded as silly or stupid. Happy to answer them all different types of variations of people, from beginners to intermediate to experts. Come on to the Marty's Garden. And if not, please say goodbye to me in the chat. I'll pull it across into the chat box and give you a wave goodbye. Say goodbye to any friends and different people in here also, as we're making friends and building the community here in this live feed. It's one of the reasons why I'm doing it, is to really work on building a community inside YouTube and then Facebook. And yeah, I'm just really stoked to be here and to be able to share my years and years of knowledge as a horticulturist and working in the agricultural industry in organics. And so, yeah, please say goodbye to me in the comments box, and we will head off very soon. And we'll have some more live shows, hopefully tomorrow, if all goes well, just depending on some crazy things going on at the moment. If my daughter's not well, we might have to take her to the doctors or something tomorrow. We might end up not being on here so much. But through the week, we're going to run and see how things are going with look at my analytics and stuff and see how the live shows that have gone, the ones that we've been doing the reruns, and sort of look at that and just check whether it's how it's all going so far. But I do appreciate the support, and we are getting the numbers over at the Buy Me Coffee page, which is great, and people are being very supportive over there. So if we keep moving forward like that, I can see that there's a bright future here for the channel, not just being creating these extreme hyperactive videos that have been around for so long, this slow process, more community, closer style content. It seems to be people really enjoy it. So thank you, Roses Ryan. See you later. And check out the other live shows that I've just ran through in the last few days. There's some really interesting stuff there. You'll learn a lot. There's a few there that are just reruns of old videos that are stacked against each other. And then there's a few like there's an interview and some different ones. And I think there's a lot of value there. They got sort of misplaced in the YouTube algorithm over times and just been on the channel, and good to bring them back and see if people still enjoy them and get value from them. Thank you so much for turning up, watching the show. I'm just going to leave this QR code here again before I head off. Have one more quick drink of water. If you want to support the channel, you can pause it now and then get your phone out and head over there. Buy me a coffee. There's also the worm farming ebook, Starting at a Worm Farm, a beginner's guide. Very popular ebook, and will help you everything worm farming to get you started along the way. Have a great evening, afternoon, or morning, whatever time it may be at your place. Thanks again for coming to watch and supporting the channel. Much appreciated. And bye, guys.